Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. I am Sofsan Ali and here are tonight's main headlines. Under the royal orders of His Majesty the Sultan, the Royal Court Affairs will inaugurate the new tourist trail at the Sultan Qaboos farm in Razat, Salalah. The Israeli aggression continues in Gaza and the UN calls for an end to targeting aid convoy workers. Constructive and positive talks are held in Alaska's summit between the US and the Russian presidents regarding an agreement on the war in Ukraine. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Prabowo Subianto of the Republic of Indonesia on the occasion of his country's Independence Day. Under the royal orders of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, the Royal Court Affairs will inaugurate the new tourist trail at the Sultan Qaboos farm in Razat, Salalah on Monday. The trail aims to make the farm a visitor destination, showcasing its fields, tropical and perennial trees, as well as its diverse crops. The site also highlights advanced agricultural practices carried out according to precise scientific and technical standards. Visitors will be taken on guided bus tours across different stations of the farm, ending at an integrated facility equipped with several amenities, including a cafe. Tickets can be booked in advance through the farm's official website, with reservations opening tomorrow, Sunday, August 17th. "25 Palestinians were killed in Israeli shelling of central and southern Gaza Strip areas, including 12 aid seekers. Medical sources reported that 6 members of one family, including 4 children, were killed when the Israeli occupation bombed a house in Al Bureij camp in central Gaza Strip. Local sources reported that an Israeli drone bombed a tent housing displaced persons north of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip, killing a man and his wife. In a related context, the Palestinian Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip announced the recording of 11 new deaths, including a child, due to starvation and malnutrition over the past 24 hours. This brings the number of starvation victims to 251, including 108 children. The United Nations Human Rights Office in the occupied Palestinian territory called on the Israeli occupying forces to immediately cease all attacks against Palestinians attempting to provide security for humanitarian aid convoys and to comply with their obligations under international law to facilitate and protect the delivery of humanitarian assistance. The Human Rights Office stated that since the beginning of August, there have been 11 incidents of attacks on Palestinians while they were providing security for convoys in northern and central Gaza, resulting in the deaths of at least 46 Palestinians and the injury of others, most of whom were security personnel accompanying aid and supply convoys, along with some aid seekers. A joint statement issued by the foreign ministers of 31 Arab and Islamic countries strongly condemned the remarks made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding the so-called Greater Israel. The statement described Netanyahu's comments as a gross disregard for and a blatant dangerous violation of international law and the principles underpinning stable international relations. It also stated that these remarks constitute a direct threat to Arab national security, the sovereignty of states, and both regional and international peace and security. The joint statement affirmed that the Arab and Islamic countries will adopt all necessary policies and measures to promote peace in a manner that serves the interests of states and peoples in achieving security, stability, and development, away from policies of domination and the use of force. The ministers warned against the Israeli government's continued expansionist policies in the West Bank and the daily settler attacks on Palestinian cities, villages, and camps. They warned that such actions fuel violence and undermine the prospects for a just and comprehensive peace in the region. The statement reiterated its rejection of Israeli actions in the Gaza Strip, calling for an immediate ceasefire, the unimpeded delivery of humanitarian aid, and for Israel to be held fully accountable for the consequences of its aggression. Northwestern Pakistan reels under unprecedented monsoon floods as authorities raced against time to rescue survivors and assess the scale of destruction across affected districts. More details coming up.
Days of torrential rains and flash floods have left a trail of devastation across northwestern Pakistan, killing more than 300 people. In Buner district, one of the worst hit areas, uprooted trees, destroyed homes, and scattered debris now cover entire neighborhoods. Heavy machinery is working to clear the wreckage as families search desperately for missing loved ones.
I was going to work, and on the way I saw that there was a lot of water coming down. When I saw this, I turned back and people were shouting, "Save your life! Save your life!" Many people climbed the mountains and some people went to the sides. In this way, people saved their lives. And where we are standing, there were 3 or 4 houses. They were completely washed away by the water, and no trace of them remained.
Local residents described how fast-moving floodwater swept away houses in minutes, leaving nothing behind. Officials say at least 184 people were killed in Buner alone, with dozens more still unaccounted for.
In the house we are standing on, 17 deaths have occurred. 14 bodies have been recovered, and 3 are still missing. On the other side, another family has lost 8 members, with more still missing.
Rescue teams continue to recover bodies and evacuate survivors, while traffic struggles to move through mud-clogged streets. Authorities warn the heavy rains are expected to continue until August 21st, with the risk of more flooding and landslides across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The monsoon has also battered parts of neighboring India and Nepal, bringing widespread destruction and casualties across the region.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks during a summit in Alaska. The meeting underscored Washington's coordination with the European allies, emphasizing that they should not be excluded from any eventual settlement. At a joint press conference, President Putin described the discussions as useful and detailed, adding that they took place in a constructive atmosphere. He stressed that any solution to the Ukraine conflict must be sustainable and take into account Russia's security concerns. President Trump said that a significant progress had been made during the summit, though he acknowledged that some issues remained unresolved. He also highlighted the potential for expanded investment partnerships between the United States and Russia, saying such cooperation carries tremendous opportunities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that he will meet U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday, following Trump's summit with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Zelensky said that Ukraine is ready for constructive cooperation and supports the idea of holding a trilateral summit between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. He reaffirmed his readiness to work with the utmost effort to achieve peace, backing the U.S. President's proposal for a 3-way meeting, while Kyiv stressed that key issues can only be addressed at the leadership level. On the field, Russia launched 85 drones and a ballistic missile attacking Ukrainian areas. The Ukrainian Air Force mentioned that front lines in Sumy, Donetsk, Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk were attacked during midnight. They also mentioned that the air defense units destroyed 61 drones. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that 139 clashes occurred on the front line during the last 24 hours. Still to come in our news bulletin. Oman GTR Club celebrates the beauty of the Far Kharif. Oman Data Park has announced a strategic partnership with Solar Wadi to launch a landmark solar energy project. In its first phase, the project will generate 1.4 megawatts of clean energy, followed by an expansion phase that will add another 400 kilowatts of capacity. The initiative is expected to significantly reduce the company's carbon footprint. The solar power will directly supply Oman Data Park's facilities, paving the way for the first green-powered data center in Oman. The move reflects the company's commitment to building a sustainable digital infrastructure aligned with Oman Vision 2040 and the nation's net zero goals. The port sector in the Sultanate of Oman recorded outstanding performance during the first half of the current year. This was driven by an increase in ship traffic, container handling, and cargo movement, along with vital developmental steps being implemented by the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology as part of its efforts to enhance port infrastructure and boost future readiness in line with the goals of Oman Vision 2040. Container handling saw a notable increase, with the total number of containers handled at the port of Salalah, Sahar and Duqm reaching 2,427,195 containers during the first half of this year, an 11.7% growth compared to the same period last year. This reflects the efficiency of logistics operations and the port's capability to meet growing demand. The total credit extended by institutions and companies in Oman's banking sector rose by 8.4% by the end of last June, reaching 34.1 billion Omani riyals. According to a report issued by the Central Bank of Oman, credit granted to the private sector grew by 6.6%, reaching 28 billion Omani riyals by the end of June this year. The report also indicated that the total deposits in the banking sector increased by 7.6%, reaching 33 billion Omani riyals. Within this total, private sector deposits in the banking system grew by 6%, reaching 21.9 billion Omani riyals by the end of June this year. The Muscat Stock Exchange posted fresh gains last week, supported by strong liquidity flows and new disclosures that boosted investor confidence. The main index climbed above 4,930 points, closing with a weekly gains of 80 points. The service index rose by 82 points, while the financial index gained 32 points. The Sharia index advanced to 477 points. However, the industrial index fell by 39 points, pressured by declines in several industrial stocks. The market's capitalization increased by 208.4 million Omani riyals, reaching 29.61 billion riyals by the close of Thursday's session. Trading activity remained strong, with turnover at 121.2 million riyals, while executed transactions surged 28% to more than 13,700 deals. From roaring engines to rolling green hills, the Oman GTR Club adds a vibrant touch to the Fars Kharif where tourism, nature and adventure meet in the season's magic. More details in the following report.
The mission rolls into the Fars Kharif. On a mission to support Oman's tourism, the Oman GTR Club has brought around 20 of their iconic sports cars from the Oman Automobile Association in Muscat, where they uplifted them to the mist-covered hills of Salalah, joining the celebration of the Fars Kharif season.
We are happy as a GTR club going all the way to Dhofar in order to showcase the beauty of Kharif Dhofar in our beloved Oman.
Their arrival adds a vibrant touch, but the true spotlight is Kharif itself.
Driving my GTR through Dhofar's green mountain in the Kharif is experience I will never forget.
Salalah comes alive with cascading waterfalls, turquoise wadis such as Wadi Darbat, shimmering lakes with boat rides, and mountains wrapped in endless greenery. Families enjoy horse rides, picnics, and the cool breezes that make this season unlike anywhere else in the region. Tourists from across the region continue to flock here in growing numbers, drawn by the Far's refreshing climate, a natural escape from the intense summer heat of the Gulf. The mission is more than a road trip. It is a celebration of Oman's pride, passion, and the timeless beauty of Kharif Dhofar. And as you can see here, I'm trying to catch up, riding a horse and enjoying the beauty myself. Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i reporting for the Sultanate of Oman Television.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we wrap up tonight's bulletin, here's the recap of our main points once again. Under the royal orders of His Majesty the Sultan, the Royal Court Affairs will inaugurate the new tourist trail at the Sultan Qaboos farm in Razat, Salalah. The Israeli aggression continues in Gaza, and the UN calls for an end to targeting aid convoy workers. Constructive and positive talks are held during Alaska summit between the US and Russian presidents regarding an agreement on the war in Ukraine. With that, we come to the end of tonight's bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.